solidarity with the Palestinian people, recognizing also that that is their land and that the illegitimate U.S.-backed state of Israel must go. That land belongs to the Palestinian people. We salute that. We are under the leadership of Chairman Wally Shatella and the African People's Socialist Party. We are the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We are an organization of white people led by the African Revolutionary Movement that is working for the total liberation of Africa and African people everywhere around the world, wherever African people have been forcibly dispersed by this system of colonialism that we live in today. And that we are saying that no more genocide in our name, and we will not be complicit with the U.S. government's genocide against African indigenous people right here and peoples around the world. That we say that this system of colonialism must be overturned. I want to say also that this is clearly a time of crisis for the system.
Yes.
We can see what just was happening with the Charlie Kirk murder, which might have been carried out by somebody who was against what he stood for, and that we recognize that he stood for everything that we are not. And so that it is very, very powerful that we are out there very visibly in the white community, taking a stand in genuine solidarity for reparations to African people and for the national liberation of African and oppressed peoples. That we want to say also, by the way, that another crisis for the system is that whole Epstein thing. I mean, just look at that. And the chairman was really raising to us, we need to raise that, because this is something that is on the highest echelons of the ruling class of this country, across the political spectrum. It involves Trump, it involves Clinton, it involves Democrats, it involves Republicans, and hundreds, if not thousands, of victims in this pedophile sex trafficking ring that is what the U.S. government is, what it is and what it's done. And we know that in the past, the Catholic Church has been a pedophile ring. That came out a few years ago. So this is what this system does.
Yes.
It is a system built on genocide. It has no redeeming qualities. It must go. This system must go, and they are in a crisis. And we want to say also that we recognize, again, and we cannot deny this, that the U.S. and the system we live in is built on the genocide of the indigenous people. It is built on white people leaving Europe, going to the continent of Africa, and turning African human beings into commodities for sale and enslaving them for 600 years. This is what built the wealth of the system we live in. And now Trump is saying, by the way, that they're going to deny that, and we're not going to be able to talk about that,
right.
They're saying. But because actually I saw a PowerPoint online from the Smithsonian Institute that Trump is banning, where they're talking about giving a PowerPoint that we would give, one that I've given many times on the economy built by the enslavement of African people in this country. But we're saying to Trump, it's too late. It's too late. The African Revolution has already built the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which functions and has members in 130 cities in this country. We are entrenched, and we know from all the organizing that we do, that we're out there on the streets all the time talking to the people, that many, many white people want to be on the forward side of history, want to take the right stand, but they don't know how to do it. And that this organization is where we can be organized, where we can raise the fact that reparations are owed to African people, and that it's in our interest to be part of winning and turning back over the stolen resources to African people and indigenous people that belong to them, because we don't want to live in a system where we have something at the expense of everybody else on the planet. That we are saying we want to have a principled relationship, we want to make ourselves criticism, because white people have carried out the most heinous crimes against African people that human beings can commit. When I first joined the African People Solidarity Committee 50 years ago almost, the chairman would put this out, that this system is built, Chairman Omali Shatella, my leadership, I'm going to salute him, Chairman Omali Shatella, and Deputy Chair Onisene Shatella, who fight for the liberation of Africa and African people every single day of their lives. He told us that this system is built on slavery and genocide. So, since my responsibility was to speak to white people, to other white people would be like, well, can you prove that? Well, I would say, here's all the things that we did. We lynched, we slaughtered people, we participated in the murder of the indigenous people. I started studying it just from regular books, Bury My Heart, A Wounded Knee, 100 Years of Lynchings, things that are out there, trying to put it all together. In the book I have, Overturning the Culture of Violence, that documents all of the terror and genocide that we carried out, and the role that white people played, regular white, working class white people played, in enforcing the enslavement of African people, in working to build slavery, to be part of stealing this land from the indigenous people, and played a hideous role in that. And that is something that we do have to understand. We have to take responsibility for. We can't just say, oh, can't we all get along now? Well, we can, but we have to tell the truth about what we did. And this is what we do. This is what the Uhuru Solidarity Movement represents, and it's really important for us to do that. Also, I want to say that Chairman Omali Shatella, way back in the early 1980s, determined that he had a goal, and that was to make the word reparations a household word. So the Solidarity Committee was created to go into the white community and say, we're building reparations, we owe reparations. But in 1979, for our first March Against Genocide, everybody would be like, what are reparations? Never heard that. What does that mean? So we had to define it. And the chairman did make it a household word. He did. He held 12 sessions of an international tribunal on reparations to African people held in Brooklyn, New York, throughout the 80s and the 90s. And he determined in every possible way that he put out the demand for reparations to African people and defined it as not as a favor, not as a one-time payment, but for all the stolen labor alone that African people are owed, just that, inside the country, inside the borders of the United States. They calculated that African people were owed in 1982 $4.1 trillion back then for all the stolen labor and the compounding of that with interest year after year after year. And not just under slavery, actually the underpayment, the convict leasing, the mass imprisonment, all the different ways that African people are, that their wealth, their power is stolen by the system every single day, is what is owed. And we do and that's what it represents here. It's saying, as white people, we recognize that, we take that stand, we do recognize that this beautiful land belongs to the indigenous people. Right here in St. Louis alone, let's just talk about that. There were something like 15 to 20 indigenous peoples or nations, as they say, that lived here. Right here in this park, this was Osage. This was the Osage land. And we also know, where are the people? Where are the indigenous people? They're gone. That's what genocide means. All we have, as you know, are street names: the Chippewa, the Cherokee, the Potomac, the Utah, all of the Shenandoah, all of the indigenous names are the street names, but the people are gone. But yet it is their land, and there are still indigenous people, and they are still fighting for their land, and it belongs to them, and we recognize that. So I want to say that. And here in St. Louis, this was a really strong center for the enslavement of African people. This is where Dred and Harriet Scott were, where they struggled in 1847 to 1857. They struggled that they could become citizens of the U.S., which they were told no, ultimately, when it went to the Supreme Court of the United States, that they were told that they had no rights that a white person had to respect. And there's the beautiful statue of Dred and Harriet Scott in front of the old courthouse downtown. And if you haven't seen that, and they do have an exhibit, I hope you can go, and I hope we're going to go. We're going to go as a day of action one of these days soon. We did that recently when we had an event. And that we do have to recognize, because on that old courthouse, African people were sold. That's where African people were sold. And I don't know if you are aware, but there are 60 caves under St. Louis. That's why we have so many sinkholes. And I don't even know how long the city's going to not sink with 60 caves under it. But many of them were where the Underground Railroad was. It's where African people struggled and hid underground. And other ones were called slave pens. There was a thing called Lynch's slave pens here in St. Louis. And those slave pens were under what is now Busch Stadium. Busch Stadium sits on basically the graves, literally, of African people in this city. And this arch, which is, there, the gateway to the west, is Manifest Destiny, which represented genocide of the indigenous people. So what we're saying is that we want to hear the truth, we want to fight for the truth, that this government is not going to take away the right of African people, of Chairman Omali Shatella, to fight for what he has called and named anti-colonial free speech. We also have to look at the reality that Chairman Omali Shatella told us from day one, that he organized the African People's Solidarity Committee back in 1976, that the struggle is not against racism. He always said he doesn't give a damn what the thoughts are in white people's heads, that it is against colonialism, which is the attack on African people, backed up by the state, the military, the courts, and all of the institutions of the power of the system that we live in. And we have to look at that. That is the truth. That is the reality. So, we're just here today to say that, if you're fighting, if you think that the U.S. we've got to fight against war, we want peace, well, it can't happen while African people and indigenous people are basically colonized inside the borders of the United States. If you say you want to be against colonialism, this is colonialism. right here inside the U.S., the colonial mode of production. It is deep. It is not something in the past. It is not something that happened a while ago. It is the DNA of the system we live in. America could not exist without slavery, genocide, and the colonial domination of African people and people around the world. That's where the wealth comes from, and we reject that by coming out today and to stand with that. So, you know, if you say, well, I want to fight for white women, I want to fight for LGBTQ, well, you've got to be here. African people fought for that. Yes. African people fought for that. Not Charlie Kirk, he was against it. This government. Yes. This is where the birth of every progressive movement in this country came out of the African liberation movement, and it still is today. So I just want to say that it is powerful to be on the winning side. I am so proud to be with you today. We are winning. Uhuru. Uhuru. No more genocide.
In our name.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. No more genocide.
In our name.
Thank you, Chairwoman Penny Hess. Let's give another round of applause for that powerful presentation. And before I bring up the next speaker, I just want to say that message that you just heard right there by Chairwoman Penny Hess is the clearest expression I think you could possibly hear of what the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is about, what our mission is, what our task is under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And so I think this is a perfect moment to tell you that if you are not already a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, you can join today. We invite you to join. We have Camille over there at our membership table, and you can talk to Camille or me and get signed up to become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We are building our branch here in St. Louis. We want to continue to have actions like this one, even bigger and bigger every single time, because more of you come on board and join the process of building the movement for white reparations to African people. So, Uhuru. Uhuru. And I gotta grab my... Okay. All right, Uhuru. So, again, I want to thank Chairwoman Penny Hess for that perfectly appropriate opening presentation for us that summed everything up. That was incredibly powerful. And also let you know, we do have Chairwoman Penny's book, Overturning the Culture of Violence, here today. You should get a copy and get it signed by the author. It is a very powerful book, an essential read for everyone who wants to be anti-colonialist, who wants to be on the side of justice and liberation for African people. There's Camille holding up the book right there. So check it out. Next, I'm very excited to bring to the stage for our next presentation a powerful organizer, coordinator with the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, as well as the local representative of the African National Women's Organization, and someone who has been an important presence at every March for Reparations that we've had, nearly every March the last several years in St. Louis. So we're very honored to bring to the stage, speaking from the African National Women's Organization, Comrade Rage.
Sisters, brothers, comrades, allies, today we have marched through the streets of St. Louis in the tradition of resistance. The Days of Reparations to African People March was born from the 1978 March Against Genocide, when African people declared to the world that what we face is genocide and that this system must be held accountable. I stand here as a representative of the African National Women's Organization, the political home for African women and femmes, and I must tell y'all, African women are living under genocide right here in St. Louis. Every day in this city, our children are stolen by Child Protective Services. Families are torn apart not because of abuse, but because this system criminalizes poverty. Black mothers are punished for conditions that we did not create. Every day, We are forced into condemned homes, shelters, and the streets while developers get rich, pushing us out of our own neighborhoods. We are pushed into early graves by some of the worst maternal death rates in the country, our pain ignored, our lives discarded by medical apartheid. Our people gunned down in the streets by a domestic military force called the police, or caged and thrown into slavery in the prison industrial complex. We live under constant terror and poverty, conditions deliberately created to keep us oppressed. This is genocide.
Yes.
And yet, despite everything, African women have always been on the front lines of resistance. From Harriet Tubman, who carried our people to freedom, to the women of Ferguson, who stood up after Mike Brown was murdered and sparked a movement that shook the world. And today, to African women right here in North St. Louis who are still fighting and still organizing to protect our children, our families, and our communities. We are not just survivors. We are the leaders, makers, and shapers of the world. We must be clear. The war against us is escalating. They're preparing to build a cop city right here in St. Louis.
Right.
Just like the one our people are fighting in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars for police militarization while our families struggle for food, housing, and health care. The FBI flooding into our neighborhoods, not to protect us, but to criminalize, surveil, and terrorize us. This is nothing less than a colonial military occupation right here in our community. And we know it's not just happening here. It's the same war being waged on African and oppressed people across the world. In the Congo, women are being displaced, raped, and killed so that U.S. and Europe can profit from cobalt and coltan in our phones and electric cars. In Sudan, African women and families face famine and displacement driven by imperialist wars for land and resources. In Palestine, mothers cradled their babies under the rubble of U.S.-funded bombs, the same empire that guns down our children in the streets of St. Louis. One system, one colonial state, one global war on African and oppressed peoples. But we are not powerless. We are organized and we are resisting. We are building a new world led by African women and colonized peoples everywhere. On behalf of the African National Women's Organization, I say we will not be silent. We will not disappear. We will continue to fight until African women are free, African families are free, until the African nation is free. Uhuru!
Uhuru! Wow, give another round of applause for Comrade Rage, African National Women's Organization. Thank you so much, Rage. Those were incredibly powerful words, beautifully delivered as always. We really salute you. We're honored to have you with us, and also want to salute your three amazing children who have also, two of them in the past have always been an important part of these marches, and we're glad to have a new one join us as well. So, Uhuru. Thank you so much to Comrade Rage. And I'm seeing how all these presentations are already tying together so powerfully, talking about the history of this city, the history of the brutal oppression of African people in this city, and the unending fight by African people to have liberation, to have power in their own hands. That continues to this very day in the face of this new cop city, the FBI invasion of St. Louis. Now Trump is talking about the leader of a railroad company told him he should send the National Guard into St. Louis. So there's clearly an escalation of terror, but African people in this city have never backed down, as in this whole country, as in all over the world. And the next speaker that we're going to be hearing from is the president of a neighborhood association that was formed, was it earlier this year? Last year? It feels like it's got a decade of work under its belt, because in the short amount of time that this neighborhood association has existed, it has done more than any of the so-called neighborhood associations that generally function basically as like police organizations. This is a true African community-led neighborhood organization called the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association. And NINA is also how it's known. And in the time that NINA has been around, its president has been on the front lines at city hall meetings, town hall meetings, budget meetings, raising the demands of the African community for genuine economic development, for a public policy of economic development versus police containment. And you will read about him a lot in the newspaper, including recently in St. Louis NPR, referred to as NINA President Christopher Gladney. We know him also as Comrade Sayali. So we're very honored to have join us up here, the president of NINA, Sayali. Uhuru.
All right, Uhuru. Yeah, sometimes I have an identity crisis. Who am I? But again, I'm really honored to be here today. And, you know, this march today is so very fitting, especially when it states, you know, that it no longer want to be complicit to the genocide that's taking place not only here in St. Louis, but around the world. And if we want to talk about genocide, it's right here in the city of St. Louis. And I'm saying specifically about the tornado that hit May 16th of this year. And the devastation that it put upon the community. But that devastation happened even longer than the May 16th tornado. We're talking about Team 4. We're talking about even as far back as the 1930s, in which they were trying to redline the city, even at that time, which paved the way for the destruction of places such as Mill Creek Valley, where SLU is located now. So, you know, NINA has really been in the fray. And we're only 8 months old, 8, 9 months old, but NINA has really been in the fray of all the different so-called, I say so-called, town hall meetings, because a lot of these meetings have been nothing but talk fests, which has strung the African community, particularly in the north side of St. Louis, along, saying, we're gonna give you money for this, and we're gonna give you money to repair that, but nothing has transpired. The only monies that have come into the community, however little they may have been, is from outside organizations. So, and NINA called that out in several of those town hall meetings. It's not enough. It's not enough to say $30 million is going to help people rebuild and repair. No, we want it all. You know, I think it was Kara Spencer that stated that they were flush with cash when she was, you know, running to be mayor of this city. Where's the cash at now? And that's been the biggest question facing the African community since this whole thing, you know, got started. So NINA got started basically in December of 2024. And this came off the heels of a huge struggle to get a permit for Rural Bakery Cafe. And it was such a wonderful struggle because the city didn't know what hit them. The city was, you know, did not know how to deal with people that fight back. And Rural Bakery Cafe would be one of many of economic development institutions inside of the African community in what we consider the West Florissant Corridor as a part of the Black Power Blueprint. So after all the struggles that we went through, from being told by the city that we had to go see a neighborhood association to get the okay to be able to do the work and everything, and only to be met with huge hostility from this neighborhood association, which, by the way, we can't find anywhere online. But anyway, we're looking at a situation where we said, no, this can't happen, because what about other businesses that want to try to open up in the African community? So we said, no, we need a neighborhood association. And this is basically a directive from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, said we need to have a neighborhood association that is going to promote genuine economic development for the African community. And as Jesse said, to get rid of a negative public policy of police containment that has been, you know, impacting the African community in this city for many, 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 many decades. So, yes. So again, Nina has shown up to all the different town hall meetings, has, effectively told city council, I mean, the alderman, y'all ain't doing nothing. This is pathetic what you all are doing to the African community. You say you care about all of St. Louis, well then show it. Put your money where your mouth is. And of course, they've had to go on the back foot and say this and that. And then we had a really, really important general meeting on the 26th of August, in which the president of the Board of Aldermen, Megan Green, came and spoke to the community there at the meeting. And we want to hold her to everything that she said at that meeting. We want to hold her accountable for all of it, because we're tired of lip service and no real action. But what it also says to us as Nina is that we have to come up as a community with our own solution, because the city for so long has been planning for us how our neighborhoods are going to be, and especially in light of the fact that we're seeing this looming opening of the NGA in 2026. And that is the detriment to everybody in the north side. This is, for people that know what NGA is, it's a National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. This is a U.S. government installation, which is considered the Pentagon of the West. So what does that mean? Intelligence gathering and drone strikes that can kill people anywhere around the world. This is what's in St. Louis. This is what destroyed 16 square blocks of African community. So Nina is totally against it. It is totally against the so-called redevelopment that the city has planned, because that redevelopment means more Africans pushed out, more families broken up and pushed out of the north side. Already to date, more than 10,000 Africans have been pushed out of the north side in the past 10 years. But that doesn't include the 20,000 people from Mill Creek Valley and several other communities around that, have, lost population, have been destroyed, just taken off the map. So Nina basically steadfast says, look, we're going to continue to push to say where's the money at from the city, but also we want to come up with our own plan that the community is in leadership of. And that's the problem. We've been under the leadership of the city for so long, but it's the community's time to say, it is our time to say what happens in our communities. We want our families to thrive. We want to be able to open up businesses in the community. And just to say real quickly about Uhuru Bakery Cafe, this is something that is going to be a sit-down restaurant, a hub in the community where people can sit down and say, hey, neighbor, how you doing? While they're eating a delicious pie. So we want that in the community, and we want more of that in the community. We want more black businesses to be able to say, hey, we can come into the community without a neighborhood association saying, no, you can't do it. Because as far as I know, it's the city that says, okay, you can or you can't open up the business. Not a neighborhood association. But anyway, just want to say that I'm really appreciative of being here to give you this presentation and to say that Nina is working on getting stronger and stronger. We want to encourage people to become members of Nina, to sign up, because the more people that we have in Nina, the more things get done. And we've already done a lot, especially with having a block party that we hosted on the 2nd of August, in which we got funds from an institution. I forgot the name of the fund of the institution, but we got $2,000 to get that thing going. And we had a lot of different vendors, people that had information. We had Comrade Rage that had her cookies out there, and Uhuru Foods and Pies had delicious free food for the community. We had the Bouncy House. We had Megan Green was present as well. We also had Prop Man, the African man that's been teaching young people how to build tiny houses and teaching them construction skills and carpentry skills. And we want to get more of that. We want to be able to have more of that in the community. As has been said, other neighborhood associations, I haven't heard helping to be a conduit for young people to learn how to do certain things, to build things, to be productive and creative. That's what we want to foster. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
What does NINA stand for again?
NINA is the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association. Again, we want it to be independent because we want to be able to serve all of the North Side, not just a little pocket here or O'Fallon, but all the North Side neighborhoods working together so that no one neighborhood benefits at the expense of another. And that is what's been taking place for many years now. So, yes. So that's what it means. It means that everybody gets a voice. Everybody gets an opportunity to participate in the process of saying, hey, look, we need to change the conditions of our lives here in St. Louis. And there's so much history. There are certain members in NINA that know the history, even know the history of the Uhuru House when it wasn't the Uhuru House, it was a club, and said it was interesting to be sitting inside of a place that used to be something else, and the fact that the Uhuru movement rescued that building so they can continue to make history. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today, and let's keep on keeping on. Uhuru.
Going for Comrade Sayali, President of the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association.
Cool logo.
Yes, who said that?
I said that.
Somebody looked up the logo. Yes, it's a very nice logo as well, and a powerful organization. And one thing that President Sayali talked about, just the fact that the community is tired of just hearing empty promises from the city, and the sentiment increasingly that the people are tired of just another talk fest, and that's the thing that, among other things, that distinguishes the Uhuru movement from anything else. It's not just about talk, it's about action. That is what makes it unique. It is actively building political and economic power in the hands of the African working class, and there is nothing else like that. And when you go to the North Side, you see the legacy of the Team 4 plan, you see the legacy of displacement and gentrification and colonialism carried out by administration after administration for decades in this city. The only positive development and transformation that you see is not coming from the city government, it's coming from the Uhuru movement. It's coming from the Black Power blueprint led by the African working class itself. So part of this march is to say the South Side needs to stand with the North Side. Uhuru. And not just in words, but in reparations, in practice. And we're going to be talking a lot more about a new and amazing program that the Uhuru movement is launching to bring all of us who live on the South Side, who live in the white community, into an active process of contributing towards the repairing of the damage, not just of the tornado, but of colonialism itself on the North Side. It's a campaign called the Reparations Investment Company. We'll be talking about it a lot more tomorrow at our event at the Uhuru Solidarity Center, and I'll be giving you more details about that. Camille's passing out flyers about that. So this is not a talk fest. This is about action. This march is not just about marching. It's about building a movement, and we need everybody to be a part of it. Again, if you are not already a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, today is the day to join Uhuru. All right, and for people watching online, by the way, we are live on YouTube. If you are not yet a member, you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/join. And if you're in the pavilion with us, you can go on your phone to uhurusolidarity.org/join and become a member as well. So in addition to the NGA, the FBI, Stop Cop City, all of these other insidious things that the government is putting into the North Side, there are now also plans to construct an Israeli chemical lab on the north side of St. Louis as a dual function of supporting the genocide of the Palestinian people and supporting the genocide of African people inside this country, inside North St. Louis. So next we have to speak about a campaign to oppose ICL, a local organizer and fighter for climate justice, currently working on the Stop ICL campaign, as well as the co-chair and founding member of the Eco-Socialist Green Party of Eastern Missouri, Courtney Hadra. Uhuru.
Peru comrades. Thank you so much for having me here to speak to y'all today. I want to start by saying we eco-socialists support the call for reparations to the Black community. We recognize that this country was built on stolen land and on the backs of enslaved Africans who were subjugated for more than 400 years through forced labor and suffering. To date, they have still not been compensated. The exploitation, land loss, state violence, and systemic racism from chattel slavery and colonialism are still intertwined into this present day. This country's wealth and power was accumulated from the theft and pillaging of African peoples and as well as the entirety of the global South. This is why reparations are legitimately necessary, and they are not a debt owed, not only for past harms, but ongoing theft of resources, oppression, and deliberate destruction of Black communities. Cities such as here in St. Louis continuously make Black communities sacrifice zones for environmental harms and to threat of retaliation from the U.S. enemy countries, and to gentrification due to supporting the war economy. And this is evident through the recently constructed National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the impending construction of Israeli Chemicals Limited, or ICL as they're now known as, lithium iron phosphate factory. And this plant is proposed to be built just on North Adelaide, 1,000 feet from residences, less than a mile from O'Fallon Park, and within 5 miles of the entire city's water source. And ICL has a known track record for producing white phosphorus, which is used in the Middle East on the communities that are being genocided by the US and Israel. And the city would rather develop the war industry at the cost of Black St. Louisans than invest in public schools, affordable housing, and efficient public transportation and ending the food apartheid. And we also saw the city once again leaving the Black community to fend for itself on on May 16th of this year after the tornado. And despite the city's inaction, Black leaders organized the community and provided life-saving assistance and helping people stay in their home. This includes the emergency hub at the Uhuru West on West Florissant. Reparations and self-sustaining development that is beneficial to the people led by the Black community are of the utmost importance. We eco-socialists acknowledge the right of the Black community to determine its own path to healing and developing its community. And that includes having a say in the ICL plant that is being proposed to be built. Like I said, the environmental harms are extremely high, and the city went behind everyone's backs, didn't give a single community member the opportunity to learn about it, much less say anything in opposition to it. And again, we eco-socialists of the we eco-socialist Green Party of Eastern Missouri demand that the city to stop gentrifying the north side and to use all RAM settlement funds for the benefit of those who were impacted by the tornado, and to make good on the promise when the mayor and board of alders approved the report to the city's reparations commission. We also call on all white people to pay reparations and support Black Power, the Black Power blueprint, and their relentless effort for liberation. And thank you. Real quick, I'd also like to invite everybody to an informational session on September 27th, where we'll be talking about the ICL, the environmental harms, and the general of what ICL is. It will be at the YMCA in O'Fallon Park at 3 p.m. on September 27th. Please come, we'll have food, and we're trying to really let the community know what's going on. Yes, Israeli Chemicals Limited. They actually changed their name recently to just ICL to try to remove themselves from their involvement in the genocide of Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Let's give another round of applause for Drew. And thank you so much for shedding light on that and for being here and standing with the March for Reparations to African people. And of course, we are absolutely opposed to the creation of this genocidal so-called chemical lab by the US-backed illegitimate colonial settler state of Israel. So thank you so much for being here and talking about that. And I'm very excited to bring up truly a living legend of the struggle here in St. Louis. We know him as the People's Alderman. He was formerly the alderman for the 18th Ward for the 2022-2023 legislative session. But for many years before that, Jesse Todd has been a fighter for the African community, uncompromising voice of struggle for the African community, including the creation of the Todd Plan, which was the antithesis of the Team 4 plan that the city of St. Louis put into place. So we are very honored to have with us once again at the March for Reparations, the People's Alderman, Jesse Todd.
Hello, everybody. We must take resources from the greedy and give them to the needy. That's the first thing. That's all it's about as far as those greedy people are concerned. First of all, let me give a shout out to Chairwoman Penny Hess of the African People Solidarity Committee. She said it best in her book called Overturning the Culture of Violence. And this is the most violent culture on earth and has been for a long time. Let me give a shout out to especially Jesse Neville, who's all his adult life, almost all his adult life, for 15 years been in the struggle. And the first white person that I know of ran on a reparations ticket. And again, hooroo to all the other organizations, the Uhuru movements, and all the guests here today. I would just like to start off by saying, quoting Malcolm X, he said, of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. So our research, I'm speaking to the choir when I say this, because you moist in this hot sun, so you understand that all white people know reparations. So, but I will just preach to the choir, because I know you all always take it out and educate people. That's another thing that I love about the Uhuru movement and the Uhuru solidarity is that I remember years ago when I was real young, SNCC had a split because SNCC told white people to go to the white community. They left the whole organization. But you're willing to not only go to the white community, but you're also willing to go there and collect reparations and tell the white community the truth and nothing but the truth. That's what I admire about the Uhuru Solidarity Committee. But at the same time, all white people do owe reparations. And as you know, from the time that the African people were attacked more than 600 years ago, we've been exploited. We've had our community destroyed. We've suffered pain, political oppression, economic exploitation, and also social degradation. We've during the more than 300 years of enslavement, the enslaved people absolutely got not one penny, not one penny. Where did that money go? That money went to white people. And it went somewhere. It didn't just go up and just disappear. No, it went. It was social. It was so. They talk about social. They against socialism. That money was social. The labor was social, but it didn't get. So it went to the white community. And I know you. That's one of the reasons. Starting with the enslavement. Then even after enslavement, there were many things that happened where we lost money at the expense of the whole white community. We can start off with the black codes, which they had the black codes and used them mostly for the South, but also in the North, and that both were being exploited. One was being exploited more intense than the other. The reason I can talk about the plantations in the South, I was born there. So when I mention the factors, let me make sure, and I've read about it, but I've also born there. When I talk about the exploitation of factories, I worked in a steel mill here in St. Louis when I was 18. In the steel mill, it was hotter than it is now, no fans, it was blowing it 33,000 degrees, and we were making springs for Moose Industry. That was right here in St. Louis, 6500 on Wells Avenue. So I'm talking from experience as well as things that I've read about. But the question is that after enslavement, besides the black code, we can skip on to where we were left out. Social Security, 90% of black people were in agriculture and domestic type works. It was you didn't get paid Social Security for that. But where did the taxes go? That's the major question. We can look at the public, whether it be public school. We had all these public facilities, but they were not as good as white facilities. So public school, we were able to get public school for everybody. So white people benefited from the enslavement. At the same time, they benefited more than we did, but we did get public schools. It's public facilities, whether it be parks, swimming pools, libraries, or whatever. We may have gotten some in some areas, but overall, all the facilities were much poorer than those that the whites used. So where did that money go? Again, it was spread out to the white community. Even in the schools, psychologically, white people were benefiting because they were constantly souped up, telling them how great they were, and telling us, and we were constantly getting those hand-me-down books. Well, I didn't get any books because I only remember one book, and that was not true for the largest cities, even in the South. What I call a large city in the South is anything over 5,000 people in some rural area. So, but in North, the bigger the city, the more resources black people had to work with. So I'm not exaggerating, because I know when I came to St. Louis, according to many studies, the biggest cities were at the same level as the whites in the South. But at the same time, when we compare the same location where blacks and whites were living, it was always that whites were getting more of the resources than black people. Again, this discrepancy, we owe reparation for that because we were being taxed for it. And the other thing is that with the same thing with Social Security, even now in St. Louis, white people live 15 years, 18 years longer. Who get the money? Most blacks, I don't think, live long enough to even get Social Security. Even now, so it's not just then where we didn't get it at all, but now many blacks pay into it, and we don't get any return for that Social Security. And the same thing with when we talk about chemical warfare, which was started in St. Louis when I was a kid at Prudential, which is a project here in St. Louis. Then in North St. Louis, which is north of Delmar, they sprayed chemicals. They killed some people, made other people sick, and people are still dying from different diseases that were created because of that. The other chemical warfare, heroin before crack, even though you don't hear too much talk of it. I was in the street because I was on my own since I was 15. The police were involved, and the government was involved in bringing heroin into the black community then, not just crack. It was heroin, marijuana. They brought all of it in just to get you involved and then get you sent to prison for either using, possession, selling it, and and it intensified though when they wanted to get the more conscious black people off the street and criminalize the whole black community during the crack epidemic. Of course, we can look at an example when right now we can look and first of all, the people who made crack, the plants that come from crack, the people we give military aid, gave military aid to them. We gave military aid to Afghanistan. We at first wasn't fighting Afghanistan, which we shouldn't have been in the first place, about growing heroin. And the people who grow those drugs, of course, many of them our allies and we give aid to it. So, and in reading the Chairwoman Hess's book, much of the money that goes into the bank, they found a large percentage of drugs on the money that they laundered. So actually, this government is the head of pushing dope, and then it has the audacity to be talking about Venezuela pushing dope when it's this government that uses the dope issue every opportunity to get. But again, with all those chemical, blacks are the victims. And then when the prisons were built after those drug usages, the materials that were used to were not owned by black people. In fact, they probably wasn't allowed. We weren't allowed probably working for the materials. In many cases, we didn't own the truck, the transportation, or the trucks, or the land. Once they drove it back and started building, we couldn't get any jobs. And in most cases, in St. Louis, in Missouri, the prisons are in the rural areas. And the new public works program we had one in the 30s after the Depression. But the new work program now is a prison work program for white people. And so white people owe us that reparations money for that too. So, white people here today must be admired, even because you've shone the light on it. You're here and you're showing that and you're doing something about it. There's no way on earth that this society is going to change for Africans or white people. Because we talk about white people, but we also have to keep it in the context. And when they come over here, we can use Africa, we can use North Africa. They say every North African, including the Palestinians and everyone else, is white when they get here. But when over there they got some chemicals and killing them too. But the point is, what is the point I'm making? They will make up anything to continue imperialism, to continue, actually to divide us. But in order for us to unite, we have to be paid. In order for us to lead, and African women must lead because they're the most oppressed sector of the black community. But in order for anything to happen historically, it has been shown. We can look at Marie W. Stewart, who was the first documented person, and you can Google her name, that actually spoke out for suffrage as well as the right to vote for women. Well, she was one of the first, even though she's not in the upfront historically in either the black books or the white books that they write, but that's the one who started it. And so, whether it be in the 60s, the women were leading the movement, whether it be Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, and or the other women at the same time, they were not up front with the big six when they, so we have to push black. That's why it's so important. Not only must we have black working class leadership, we must also have black women in leadership with the resources that they need. So that not just being paternalistic, not whether you like black women or not, has nothing to do with how we feel personally. It is the only strategy that's going to assure that everyone benefits, because when black women win, everybody benefits. And unfortunately, when black women lose, like blacks losing their women, for example, in the abortion issue, blacks are losing their women on the rights of people that love genders of their own sex, for example, they're losing. And black women lost recently more than 300,000 jobs from the federal government recently when the government attacked the equity, inclusion, and those programs. We may say, well, those are bourgeois programs, but those are 300,000 people who got to eat someplace until we make the changes that are necessary. So that's why I said that when when black people, because if black people get some any blacks, there's never been a time when we got something as black people that white people couldn't participate. There's no program that you can name in America where white people couldn't be part of the program. There's no place really where you can move where somebody would say, y'all can't live here, start, So that's why it's important. Your work is so important because of the fact that white people must understand if we're gonna change like the environment, for example, it affects all of us, but it has to be led by blacks because the momentum from all the movements in the history of America, the big movements have come from the black movement. Yeah. And it has come from mostly black women. We can say Harriet Tubman, for example, with the Underground Railroad. So Uhuru comrades, all power to the people, and keep up the good work.
Uhuru to the People's Alderman, Jesse Todd. Uhuru. Thank you so much, People's Alderman, for being with us. As always, it would not be the March for Reparations without Jesse Todd. So thank you so much for being with us today, for your powerful words, for your powerful leadership over so many years. And we have two more speakers before we close it out today, and we hope you do stick around and check out the Uhuru Planet Reparations apparel and our flyers, the books, Overturning the Culture of Violence. We also have the books of Chairman Omali Yeshitela that you can check out. And also get involved in the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I just want to quickly ask, before I bring up the next speaker, is there anybody here who's not yet a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement that is ready to do so today? Oh, we got a hand here. We got another hand over here. We got another hand here. Incredible. Incredible. That's 3 new members right there. Anybody else? All right, well, congratulations and welcome to our 3 newest members, Uhuru. And Camille will get you signed up today before you leave. And that is so exciting. We're very happy to have you on board and look forward to organizing with you, meeting with you, and building this movement here in St. Louis. Uhuru. All right, so People's Alderman Jesse Todd is wearing a shirt that says "Hands Off Uhuru." I just want to quickly say something about that as a segue to our next speaker. As many people may know, the Uhuru movement and Chairman Omali Yeshitela came under attack by the United States government and the FBI in July of 2022, a completely bogus, outrageous, violent raid that was carried out against the chairman, deputy chair, and the Uhuru movement that involved this completely manufactured and slanderous lie that the chairman and the Uhuru movement were somehow involved in being Russian agents in a conspiracy to sow discord in the United States. And the chairman formed the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back to push back against this, to fight for anti-colonial free speech, and brought together forces from across the political and ideological spectrum to unite behind the leadership of the African working class to push back these attacks and to push back against attacks on the right of African people to exercise the supposed constitutional right of free speech, to advocate for their liberation and self-determination. And we did end up going to trial. The Chairman Omali, was the primary target. Chairwoman Penny Hess, who we heard from earlier, and myself were also charged in that process with the same charges as part of the attack on the chairman and the Uhuru movement, and to scare away you from being here today marching for reparations. And on this day, last year, on this day, we were summing up the verdict that had come in the day before in that trial. We went to trial in Tampa last September, and after a week-long trial and an incredible fight back led by the chairman, the movement, tons of people who came out to support the Uhuru 3, and our amazing legal team that worked under the political strategy of the chairman and the Uhuru 3 were acquitted of the main charge, which carried a 10-year prison sentence, of being so-called foreign agents of Russia, but in a bizarre, inconsistent verdict, convicted of conspiracy to do that, to do the thing that we were found not guilty of actually doing. So in December, we went down to Tampa for the sentencing. The courthouse was packed.
With
And-
many people that are here today.
Yes, yes, and
Really?
many of you who are
Yes.
here were with us in Tampa. And because of the support of you, of all of the people who were there, the US government failed in their mission to put the chairman in prison, to attempt to discredit and delegitimize the African liberation movement. And the demand of that time was not one day, not one dime. And that is exactly what happened. So now the chairman and the Uhuru 3, Chairwoman Penny and myself, are under probation and having to complete 300 hours of community service, get permission to travel. We have an appeal filed right now against the conspiracy conviction, and the fight back is not over. And that brings us to our next speaker, because part of the fight back is the Uhuru movement, the Hands Off Uhuru's campaign, that these laws that were used as weapons against the chairman and the African liberation movement have been used time and time again as weapons by the US government against speech by African and colonized peoples, and anyone who wants to use their speech to criticize the US government. The foreign agents laws, these conspiracy laws, they have to go. And one of the most important organizations and forces that has stood with the Uhuru movement from day one of when this attack happened was the Center for Political Innovation. And joining us from Chicago is one of the key forces of that organization who's been on the front lines fighting for anti-colonial free speech from the very beginning. We're always so happy to have him here with us from Chicago, John McCarthy.
On behalf of Caleb Boston and the Center for Political Innovation, I wanted to salute and endorse Chairman Omali Yeshitela's brilliant new initiative to repeal and abolish the Foreign Agent Registration Act. This is a bad law. It's vague, it's anti-speech, and it's dangerous. And right now you have some well-meaning people in the anti-imperialist community and in independent podcasting that they're saying, no, we don't need to get rid of this law. We need to get the government to use it for good, use it against AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. With all due respect, that's like trying to approach an active school shooter and convince him to stop killing innocent children and instead use his weapon against the bad guys. Even if you survived somehow, and even if you temporarily succeeded, the fact is that nobody is safe while that weapon is in the hand of the psychopath. And this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna remove this dangerous weapon, the FARA law, from the hands of this psychotic state. Now, it took the mind of Chairman Omali Yeshitela to see that this was the move. Because Chairman, he doesn't fight the enemy on the terms that the enemy defines. He figures out a way to force the enemy to fight us on our terms.
Right.
That's how we won the battle in Tampa.
Yep.
And that's how we're going to win the war. So once again, Chairman Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party are leading the fight to defend everyone's right to speak and hear the truth. And once again, the Center for Political Innovation is grateful, because our mission and our purpose is to speak the truth. And you are winning for us the ability to do that, and you had better believe we're going to use it. Uhuru.
Give it up for John McCarthy, CPI. That was brilliant, as always. Thank you, John. And I just want to let people know that on September 18th, at 6 p.m., there will be an event about the campaign that John was just talking about to repeal these repressive laws, hosted by Hands Off Uhuru, and you can find out more at handsoffuhuru.org/register to get signed up for that event on September 18th, Thursday night. And now we come to our final speaker, and we are very, very honored and excited to have the local president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, who has been fighting for the liberation of African people and has been a presence and a force in the African community in St. Louis for a long, long time. We are very excited to bring to the stage President Westbrook, the local president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement.
Fight back!
Fist up!
Fight back!
Fist up!
Fight back!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Israel two!
Africa!
Africa! Uhuru. I'm Westbrook, president of the St. Louis branch of the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party. And I also want to thank Jesse Neville and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement for hosting this important march for reparations to African people and for deciding long ago to no longer be complicit in the genocide of our people and all oppressed people of the world. But this question dealing with reparations. The 14-point platform of the Vanguard Party speaks to this very issue. Our chairman of the African People's Socialist Party states with point number 11 that we want the U.S. and the international European ruling class and state to pay Africa and Africans for centuries of genocide, oppression, and enslavement of our people. For centuries of colonialism, centuries of exploitation, and not just the atrocity that was done to my people here in America, but we are talking about everywhere on the face of the globe you are located. My people are owed reparations. From the Germans to the French, the British, Belgium, the Netherlands, I mean, this list goes on. This is why our chairman teaches us to stay politically educated, because we know they would never tell us the truth. We know they will always whitewash or gaslight us to the best of their ability. Even with Donald Trump case, he would try to erase us in the truth from history. We understand that feudalism was the world that we lived in before capitalism overtook the economic system, right? Yeah. Then we must not forget. We must remember that the U.S. and the European civilization was born from the theft of humans and material resources from Africa. Let us not forget the original sin of the Western social system. The primitive accumulation of wealth created the conditions for capitalism all the way back in 1415 when Portugal touched down off the shores of Africa. Yeah. This is the origin of it, the beginning, the genesis of it all. What? That's too far back for you? Well, let me bring it a little closer. Hey, check this out. Can anybody explain to me how is it when our African brothers and sisters of Haiti got tired of being under the yoke of them dirty devil Frenchmen and decided to rise up against their oppressors and win their liberation? How in the hell did they end up owning the French reparations? Right. I mean, they just now finished paying it off not too long ago. No, but the French have yet to pay African reparations for all the atrocities they committed. From the carving up of Africa during the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 up until this very day. Or the fact that the Dutch played a huge part in this theme with this West Indies company, which contributed to the Netherlands becoming an economic powerhouse because of their monopoly of trade and their transporting of Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, you know there wouldn't be a New York as you know it if it wasn't for the Dutchmen stealing the Manhattan for the natives and created a new Amsterdam. Right. Then turn around and import imported Africans to level the jungles, build up their city, and to be transported and sold at their ports. Or the massacre and the genocide perpetrated on our ancestors in Congo by King Leopold II of Belgium from 1884 up until 1906, when they mutilated, murdered millions of Africans during the Belgian rubber and ivory trade. But no, not one penny was paid in reparations on the ethnic extermination of the Namibian people of the Southwest Africa by the hands of the Germans. Even though no one want to admit this, that was the first genocide of the 20th century. Between 1804 and 1904 and 1908, there was hundreds of thousands of Africans that lost their life due to the settler colonialist ideals, agendas, and policies. And yet they don't teach us in this book. They tell you and I not to remember our history, but at the same time, they want you and I to remember the Holocaust. Till this day, Germany is still paying reparations to the Jews. But I say, where's our reparations? Yeah. What? That's too back far for you? Well, let me bring you a little closer then, to home. And I'm not going to stay here long because you're all too familiar with this corrupt country and its history. Like the history of 246 years of chattel slavery, followed by the 100 years of Jim Crow segregation, redlining, lynching, which systematically done our people bad. We understand that the origin or the beginning of the Civil War was started with the decision that was handed down right here in St. Louis, dealing with the Dred Scott case that was spoken earlier on. This shouldn't even be up for debate. The question of reparations, this shouldn't even be up for debate, because it was decided and concluded long ago by issuing the special order of number 15. So it was decided and allocated. It was. Which allocated up to 400 acres in a military mule to cultivate the land. But instead of that was enforced, in 1862, the DC Compensation and Emancipation Act was enforced. That compensated former slave masters for the loss of revenue due to newly freed Africans. And during the same time, in 1862, the Homestead Act was passed, which gave hundreds of thousands of acres to millions of white peasants.
That's right.
But where's our reparations, I scream?
Yeah.
Where's our reparations? Wait, that's too far back from you? Because you know a lot of folks want to say, man, that happened a long time ago. That's why I keep asking you, is that too back far from you? Well, let me bring you a little closer. Let's speak about the Jebusites in 1818, using free African laborers to build a university. We know about SLU. Or what about 100 years later with the East St. Louis massacre in 1917, where hundreds of black folks was lynched, shot, beat, or set ablaze. And today's money, $96 million worth of damage to our homes and our business was done by the white civilian, police, and by the very same federal agent that was sent down here to protect us. Or the erosions of our communities from the Mill Creek Valley area to the Kinlock area. From the Mills Creek Valley area, with thousands of vibrant business and homes was destroyed, razed to the ground, yet again, in the Negro district of the city. Or the buyouts from the airports of our historically black area called Kinlock, the first incorporated black town west of the Mississippi. And they bought them out with the part of this noise abatement program, with 75% of the community was lost to a lie. What was spoken earlier? What about the open air radiation study, or in layman's terminology, the gassing of our people on the north side during the Manhattan Project in the Piriagos and surrounding areas? With some folks dying off that, or even getting cancer from the after effects. Jeff Van Loo, JVL, is the area I'm speaking about. And this is pretty much the same area, the same Negro district of the north side that the NGA stole up. With removal of generations of family that settled there after the Great Migration. Was the JVL. The stealing of 2,000 acres of land from the African community just to put a spa center there. To be quite frank, we fucking tired of this. Yeah. Where's our damn money? Where is it at? This is not conducive to peace. Give us what is owed us. Give us our damn money. It is owed and we want it. There will never be, and I repeat, there will not be social justice without the proper economic development in our communities. We need an infusion of dollars outside of what is already owed. We need repair. We need a repair done. We need you to repair the damage. We don't need any more of your police containment. We need economic development for our Black communities. Without that, we cannot have true social justice. We need economic policies that deal with uplifting our people and not the exploitation of them. We was left by the wayside a long time ago to die, but we still here. Y'all, they have a debt to pay, and we ain't going nowhere until it's paid. We demand our reparation. We suffer $1.6 billion damage in our community because of the neglect, redlining, public policies from this office, from city hall officials. And this is the reason why you see these damages in our community. Not because of the tornado, because of city hall policies that cause this damage. And now y'all want to talk about some $30 million? That's not enough to entertain this conversation. Y'all messed up, and now we saying reparations now. When did we want it? Right now.
Right now.
Uhuru, comrades. And I'll leave you with September the 20th and 21st, we having EPDM convention. Once you come on out, y'all can either sign up today or just sign up at the door. But September 20th and 21st convention, put that on your calendar. And November 1st and 2nd, let's go ahead and go down to Washington, the Black is Back Coalition. Uhuru, comrades.
Uhuru, President Westbrook. Reparations?
Now!
Reparations?
Now!
Uhuru. Thank you so much. That was such a powerful note on which to conclude our program today. I want to give a round of applause to all of our amazing speakers that graced us from this mic today. Uhuru. And before we adjourn, I just wanted to let you know that 4 of you have become new members of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So let's keep it going. Let's get to 5. Let's get to 10.
Can they say anything? The new members, can they come up and say something?
Yes, if any of the new members would like to come up and say anything about why you decided to join today, we will make the mic available to you. Raise your hand if you would like to do that. All right, yes, come on up.
So hi, my name's Lucas. Just real quickly, I was really drawn towards this because I went to Earth Day and there was a a tent set up and I talked to the lovely lady there and I just always felt like I wanted to do more with my time and my time outside of my work. My work does deal with more environmental things and helping that side of things, but I felt like I could always do more and I just really felt like this was a great fit. And especially marching and hearing all of you all talk today, it's incredibly inspiring. And I just want to figure out ways that, not only I can give my time, but also give more to help assist with growing this. So thank you all for, thank you for calling and reaching out. And just thank you all for being you and being awesome people who have great hearts. And yeah, thank you. That's all.
Drew Lucas, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Anybody else? I mean, I could call you out. I know who the new members are. If you want to come up and say anything. We got one over here. Come on up.
Alright, slow walker. Hello. My name is Donnelly. I've lived in Alton, and I now live in down in Potomac. Sorry, I don't have anything managed. But suffering from anyone or from any group of people shouldn't happen. I think we should live in a world where life is of joy and of compassion. So I think that's what we should strive for.
Wow. Some of the most eloquent statements of the day from our new members. And we're so excited to organize with you, to bring you into our local branch. We have so many exciting campaigns coming up that we want to get started on right away. And having you be a part of it is going to be a tremendous leap forward. So is there anybody else before I move on to announcements? All right, Ahuru. So I wanted to, first of all, let you know, so we're going to have some comrades pass some baskets right now. It couldn't be a march for reparations without raising reparations to support the work of the African People's Socialist Party, Black Star Industries, including the Black Power Blueprint on the North Side, programs of economic development, self-determination in the African community. And we have a goal to raise $500 today out of a larger goal of this campaign to raise $30,000 by the end of October. So you can make your contribution by cash, by check. You can make it out to Uhuru, UHURU, or you can swipe your card at our table over here. We have tap to pay, makes it a lot easier. Or you can go from your phone to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations and make your contribution. And we will let everybody know how much we raised. But as you're doing that, I wanted to let you know that we have an event tomorrow. So if you're a new member, tomorrow's the day to jump in and get involved. We have an event called Reparations, Not Gentrification, Solidarity with the North Side, to call on us to get involved in practical work in solidarity with Black self-determination programs in North St. Louis. That event starts, we have flyers for it here. That event starts tomorrow, September 14th at 1 p.m. Central at the Uhuru Solidarity Center at 2654 Gravois Ave. And it will also be broadcast on Zoom. You can register at tinyurl.com/materialsolidarity2025. And the keynote speakers of that event include Chairwoman Penny Hess of the African People's Solidarity Committee, who we heard from earlier today, who will be talking more extensively about the subject of the question of reparations to African people and what it means for us and our stand of solidarity with African people. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela, our leadership, the one who made reparations a household word, will be speaking as a keynote speaker at the event tomorrow at the Solidarity Center. And about halfway through that event, those who can will be getting in cars and joining us on a drive to the north side, where we will be sort of premiering the launch of a new, amazing, transformational, visionary program that was created by the leadership of Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela, called the Reparations Investment Company, which is a program to expand the Black Power Blueprint's work to develop the North Side in the interests of political and economic power for the African working class. And the first renovations project of the Reparations Investment Company is a beautiful fourplex apartment building on Harris Street across from the park in North St. Louis. And we will be going to that property and showing more about that program and how you can get involved in actually volunteering to renovate that property so that it can be a resource of the African community to reverse gentrification and to support African community-led economic development. So that's going to be tomorrow starting at 1 p.m. Central. And the following Thursday will be the Hands Off Uhuru event on the campaign to fight for anti-colonial free speech to oppose the foreign agent and conspiracy laws. More information about that. We have flyers about that campaign. You can find more information at handsoffuhuru.org. And as Comrade Westbrook mentioned, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement's convention is next weekend. So September is a very busy month. The title of the convention is, I love it, it's Cheers to a Dying Colonialism. 3 cheers. And this time till it's won. That's going to be Saturday and Sunday next weekend at the Uhuru House, 4101 West Florissant Ave. And beyond Sunday, every Sunday, you can find President Westbrook and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement at the Sunday rallies, which take place at the Uhuru House at 3 p.m. every week. So this is next weekend. Everybody should be there. The Impedum Convention is going to be incredibly powerful. And the following weekend, it's not over, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and Uhuru Planet Reparations Apparel will have a booth at the Tower Grove Pride. And we want everybody to, right here in Tower Grove, we want you to volunteer with us, come out and be a part of building this movement and signing people up and getting people involved in the work for reparations to African people. And before I do some final shout outs, I just wanted to appreciate both of the comments from our new members and what Lucas mentioned about the question of the environment. There is also an event, I don't have a flyer, but you can find information at apscuhuru.org. There's an event happening at the end of the month where Chairwoman Penny will be speaking on why it is colonialism that is the cause of climate crisis and environmental destruction. And I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, that was the name. Colonialism is destroying the environment was the name of the first Uhuru event I ever went to and saw Chairwoman Penny Hess speak back in 2009, late 2009. Changed my life, obviously. Such an important topic, such an important analysis. If we truly want to take a stand in defense of the planet Earth, only when African, indigenous, and colonized peoples are free and reclaim custody of the land and the resources can the Earth truly be healed. The system that destroyed the planet Earth is not going to heal the planet Earth. So this is the future. This is the way forward. This is our liberation as well. Our liberation from being a colonizer, from being a settler, the way to join the rest of humanity in building a world free from oppression, where everybody has self-determination and where there can be genuine peace. This is the only way. And it is happening. It is not a fantasy. It is happening. So before we close out.
Is anybody coming around for the resources?
Oh, we have, Jan, and I think there's 2 people, but we do have some donations up here in Penny. We want to make sure, just make sure that all the resources get collected.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
All right. And if there's anybody else, if you were trying to donate and no one came by or missed you or anything, just raise your hand and we have our basket passers moving around. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so this is always a risky endeavor, but I just wanted to shout out. First of all, I want to give a round of applause to all of our speakers. Again, Uhuru. I want to salute our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onazane Yeshitela. We would not be here if it was not for them, for their leadership, for their struggle, for building the Solidarity Movement. So we salute the Chairman and Deputy Chair and the African People's Socialist Party. I also want to specifically salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, not just for speaking today, but for being under the leadership of the party and showing the way of white solidarity with black power for the last 5 decades, Uhuru. And finally, I want to salute all of the comrades, and I got to mention one more thing before I do that. Uhuru Foods and Pies is here. Make sure you get your Uhuru pies and cookies. Comrade Sayali's staffing that table back there. That is one of the economic development fronts of the Uhuru movement, and also the pies are amazing. You got to try them. What's that?
I can literally confirm it's delicious.
Yeah, so we have live testimony right there from Camille. Yeah, there we go. So I just want to thank everybody who played a role in making this event happen today. And I know I'm going to leave somebody out, so feel free to scream out names if I do. But I want to salute the coordinator of the March for Reparations this year, which was Comrade Brendan McCoy. Another comrade who we met actually at the same Earth Fest that Lucas mentioned, who jumped right in and has played an amazing role coordinating outreach and so much more, and that's Camille right over there. Uhuru, Camille. I want to salute another comrade in our local branch who's been out there doing every kind of outreach, drops, every aspect of this march really had a hand in it, and that is our amazing comrade Jan, who's over here. Uhuru, Jan. And I want to salute, joining us, they're here from Columbus, Ohio, and they were part of the whole process of building this march this year, and they've been on different roles. You've seen them throughout the day, but I want to shout out Comrade Indigo. He's on security right now, so he's very stoic. And Comrade Dylan G. I say it like that because there's another Dylan. Uhuru, Dylan G. Where is he?
Where's he at?
There he is, yes. And on that note, I also want to salute Dylan C., our newest member, who's been taking photos today. There he is. And I want to salute two comrades who drove here from Farmington, Vito and Christina. Uhuru. I want to salute and appreciate Angelica, who's right here, who also played a role in getting out posters and getting out the word about this march today. And then, again, some of these comrades are on security, so there won't be much, they won't be able to respond much, but I do want to appreciate Stephanie, Allie, and Ruby, Uhuru. And I want to give a special revolutionary salute, and again, she's on security, but I want to give a special revolutionary salute to Comrade Maureen, it is a testament to her revolutionary stance that she's here today and that she's part of securing this march, because today is the revolutionary birthday of Comrade Maureen. Uhuru. And I just want to say, I know I speak on behalf of all of USM. I look up to Maureen. She is truly an embodiment of reparations to African people and has been. She was there at that first march in 1979 and has been a stalwart fighting for reparations to African people under the leadership of the party ever since, and now playing an incredibly important role under the leadership of Deputy Chair Ona Zanea-Shatella and so much of the economic work, including the extremely exciting upcoming opening of the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe on the north side. We're all gonna be there for the grand opening, right? Yeah. Absolutely. All right, Uhuru. So if there's anyone I missed, please let me know. Oh, what the? I want to salute our vice chair.
Yo, baby.
Your name is on here. I just want you to know. Yeah. Comrade Amanda. Uhuru. Comrade Amanda. That's why it's so dangerous to do this. Yes. But, yes, just want to salute Comrade Amanda. Amazing comrade. And played an amazing role in the process of building this march. It's impossible to name one committee because you were in everything in some way, shape, or fashion. But just salute you. Your stand on security, fundraising, everything. Uhuru, Comrade Amanda. All right, so I don't know, do we have a total on how much we raised by any chance?
Including the memberships for the whole year,
Yeah.
$686.
You all raised, say it one more time. You all raised $686, 186 above our goal, if my math is correct. It's usually not, but salute to you all. Let's give that a round of applause. Uhuru. All right, well, thank you so much, comrades. Sharon Penny, any other remarks you'd like to make?
Uhuru, Vanguard up, we are winning.
Relentless.
We are winning. Uhuru. Unity through
Reparations.
Uhuru. We'll see you tomorrow.